Hit record, but it has been requested that you behave as if it is not recording.
Okay,
Yeah.
I still will have to do the intro.
No, you have to do the intro, but
Yeah.
yes.
All right, hello everybody and welcome to this week's Tipple's Brews virtual wine tasting for the wine of the week with Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre here in sunny Gainesville, Florida.
Yep.
When we say sunny in summer, not a happy thing, really. It's so brutal.
Like it.
Yeah.
Some of us like heat. Some
Okay.
of us don't.
Some make it hot.
Yes.
Huh?
Some sweat.
Some sweat when the heat is on. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. I wasn't built for it.
Jerry, we were wondering.
All right, good. Jerry made it.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. This week we are going to be drinking. Let's go ahead and bring up the slide.
Okay.
Is it up?
Yes. I think.
Okay. I know. I just wasn't sure if they were seeing it
They're
because I see
seeing
it
it.
all the time now.
Yep.
The Tramari by San Marzano. It's a rosé of Primitivo from Puglia, Italy. Food pairings on this nice rosé. Mango salmon, maybe a
Sounds
little mango
fantastic.
chutney if you want to go that way.
All right.
Strawberry poppy seed salad with chicken, I would say. Even though, you know, I always felt like, and no one does this, strawberry poppy seed salad would go with scallops.
It
'Cause
would
it's
go with
kind of a
salmon
sweet meat.
too.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah.
But
you know me,
Well,
any
Jeff-
excuse,
Jeff-
scallops,
any excuse to have scallops.
blue cheese and scallops. Not that they go together, but
No,
yeah.
and bacon would be on your list as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know what? I'll give it a shot. Blue cheese, bacon, scallops.
I do bacon.
I bet you I'd be
scallops.
okay
I
with
don't do any- Well, but I don't do blue cheese, period, so. there
That's
you
true. All right, brie and goat cheese fish tacos
go. Mhm.
and a strawberry lemonade macaron.
Okay, so my mother made us black bean turkey burritos.
Mhm.
Will that go with this?
Not so much.
No, okay.
It's gonna be a bit much.
So
work.
we'll just drink
Yeah.
before we eat.
Right, a
All
fish
right.
taco would be great, but yeah, that's going to be a bit much.
Okay.
So
All right,
I'm going to get started drinking.
okay, sounds good.
This is 100% Primitivo grape. Oh, and then we always do the thing now because I'm allowed to bounce these questions off of you, right?
Okay,
Assessment for age worthiness. Is this a wine to age?
okay. You haven't told me the alcohol content, so I don't know that.
12.5%.
12.5%, which is low. Because it's a rosé, I know it's from a red grape,
Mhm.
but I don't feel any tannins. So I would say if there are any, they're not going to make it age worthy. It is acidic.
Mhm.
That's the only thing it's got as far as age worthiness for me. So I would say, no, it's not age worthy.
You are totally correct.
Okay.
Yes. Drink it within, say, 3 years.
Thank you, Linda.
So yes, this one I'd say drink it within about 3 years. So optimally.
Okay.
Some people will say never drink a rosé after 1 year. I'm like, yeah, relax.
Okay.
Right? Just take it easy over their opinions. Like it's got acid, it can hang out. There's nothing wrong with 3 years or so. I've had some nicely made French rosé and 12.5%. Just don't forget, we're looking at the white wine spectrum
Mhm.
is actually not bad at all. You know, that's kind of right in the middle. So it's enough. And with that high acid, yeah, I've had them after say even 5 years, and it tasted just great. It had
Okay.
not even begun to diminish.
Oh,
So it
okay.
depends on the rosé.
Mhm.
Certain if it's just some cast off cheap rosé, it's probably not going to hang out.
Mm.
If they're putting a little more time and effort into it and making a rosé on purpose,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you about rosé on purpose versus rosé as a byproduct in a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
I didn't add it to here, but it's something I should cover when we do rosé.
Okay. All right.
So a purposeful rosé, those guys will hang out much longer.
All right. And then Paul and Linda have a question.
Okay.
Linda has a question.
No, I was commenting to Paul and he felt like he should raise the hand. But no, I was saying that if I were blindfolded, I said for a rosé, it smells and tasted more citrusy than what I'm used to. And I told him, I said, if I did not look at the color, so if I would have thought this were like a Napa Sauvignon Blanc or something. It has some citrus notes, and I feel like I'm not used to that with a rosé, but I do taste like light fruit as well. So it's not in a bad way. I feel like it tastes different than a normal rosé. That's just my thought. Like,
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that is one of the reasons I chose this rosé, was because it was different. Instead of many rosés out there, and not that they taste bad, they taste good, but they all taste like tart strawberries, some maybe flower blossom, and maybe a little bit of minerality. And that's well-made rosés. Like the poorly made rosés are just going to taste kind of like tart fruit, like some version of tart cherry, tart raspberry, tart strawberry, right? That would be your lesser rosé, just a casual drinker kind of thing, not going to give you a lot of interest. But the well-made rosés, like you get a rosé from Provence, you line them up, the differences are minimal. You know, hey, wow, this is floral. Let me see here, tart strawberry, kind of the white top of a strawberry, and a little bit of like an herbiness on the finish, and some minerality. Very clean, very nice. Would go with a lot of. This one is the same. This one is the same. So I really enjoy when a rosé stands out for me in a very positive way and in a very purposeful way. It was chosen to behave this way, right? So. But I think that's a great observation, Linda, because you are right, and that is why I chose it. Well, one of the reasons. All right. So, are we still showing the slide or us? Okay.
We are not. There are a couple of things. So Linda Reinhardt said she gets peach and strawberry.
Love it.
Yep. And then it went away. I think on the chat, somebody said stone fruit as well.
Stone fruit as well. I like that because you can go peach, maybe nectarine, right? I'm jumping around in there. I'd go raspberry and cherry as well, which would be kind of the baseline, but I like you guys picking up on those other notes. And for the citrus side, I would go, it's a little more like blood orange to me than it is like, say, a pink grapefruit.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I can get an orangey citrus, you know, kind of that kind of luscious side of citrus instead of a real tart, like certainly not the bitter pith or anything like that, which is on the beer side common.
Okay.
In the beer world, kind of that bitter pith can really jump out in there with the hops.
And then Rachel wholeheartedly agrees with, I'm thinking with the peach and strawberry or with the
thing I agreed with was with Linda, because I'm not surprised that Linda and I were tasting the same kind of thing. I wanted to say star fruit, but it's not that bitter and it's not that tart. So that's why I went with light melon.
Okay, yeah, and she said light melon, some sort of flowering bush. Yeah,
that is something I left off of. Sorry,
go ahead.
The description of rosés from Provence and melon going into melon rind. Yeah, I left that off that description. So on the rosé, a melaniness, very common. I'd say on this one, it's there in the style of tartness as it pulls on the back of your palate. You know, it's a bit of that rindiness.
Okay, yeah.
But there's so much luscious fruit up front that it is almost like it's to me, it's on the finish. It's definitely not what it presents at the beginning.
Okay. Yeah.
To me.
I'm sorry, I was so late, but I think I heard most of that. But does anybody know what jackfruit tastes like?
I had it.
Does anybody get that?
I don't know jackfruit.
I don't know jackfruit well
Okay.
enough. I've had it, but
It's
not
sweet,
enough
but
to-
also like a lighter sweet. But it's not super common.
I'm just thinking Jack Tipple is in my ear right now, whispering a lot of naughty jokes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's similar to starfruit in my flavor palette of like a lighter, sweeter, but not as tart as starfruit. So I was like, ooh, maybe jackfruit then, but we'll have to
'cause
get them and try it.
We need to
I'll
have
have to
like
try
a
that
fruit
out.
tasting.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Because to me, star fruit tastes like a combination of apple and pineapple. So.
I haven't had star fruit in a while.
mhm.
The vegan gator truck has
Exactly.
jackfruit.
Ah, well, we will
Jackfruit
have to
burger
try
that
it.
doesn't taste like jackfruit, but they have some other things where you can taste it.
Ah,
Yeah.
So.
I don't think I've ever had jackfruit by itself because most of the time it's been marinated and it's similar to that pulled pork kind of consistency. So I've had that and those kinds of dishes for vegan like eating, but I've never had it on its own. So that would be interesting to try.
Yeah, the burger's great.
Nice. So anyone getting a little bit of a saltiness on the finish,
yes.
right? Yeah, it's almost like you take that melon and you put a little salt across the top on there, and which I really love that on the finish.
Oh, yeah.
That would be it's a wonderful attribute for food pairing,
Okay.
right? So to me, this is delicious. I could probably glug down a whole bottle accidentally on a hot day,
For sure.
you know, or even on a nice, beautiful day on a porch.
Mhm.
But it does have the qualities needed to go with some food in a wonderful way as
Mhm.
well, which should be expected because
Because it's an Italian wine.
it's Italian wine,
So they're expecting a food pairing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when don't they?
Okay, well, true, well, the old world, like.
Right,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
honestly, I think if you were to say, oh, here's something and, you know, just drink it without food, they'd be
Mhm.
like, well, then it's not wine. Then they
So-
might hit you.
And then Jerry agreed with Linda R about the peach.
Mhm.
And then honey was mentioned as well.
The honey, well,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I tell you, I really like the peach comment, and what I find fun about this discussion right now is that was not in the notes from the winemaker
Mhm.
or any of the tastings, and I'm like, how? Maybe they don't eat a lot of peaches down in Puglia, I don't know, because, yeah, because definitely,
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
like a peachy nectarine stone fruit thing is going on here.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
it's
was
so
one-
funny. So I just looked it up, like how would you describe flavor of uncooked jackfruit? Because the cooked jackfruit has like the salt, brings out the saltier. And it says, and I don't know if this has been mentioned, but banana, apple, and mango. So maybe almost like a little bit of mango
Hmm,
coming out.
okay.
I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely got a tropical note
It's
to
got a
it, you
tropical
know.
note for
It-
sure. I'd say mango, but
Well,
it mixed with the other two, yeah.
I
mean,
can see it, right? Like a raspberry mango combo where the raspberries restraining that mango from taking over.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's one of those things where mango so often takes over a dish
Yeah.
that it's one of those where you're like, when you even say mango, it's like, well, if this tasted like mango, there'd be nothing but mango. It's like, no,
It
it
can
doesn't have
be,
to be
yeah.
that way.
It can be more subtle.
There's got to be some restrained mango out there somewhere. It's in this glass.
Also.
My friend Julie just told me.
There you go. And Harriet has also suggested that we have this with some dark chocolate that is.
Well, that's an
fantastic
interesting
with dark
combo.
chocolates.
All right. All right.
We are going to do a little poll. So it will pop up in a moment. All right. So. The Primitivo grape. Let's see. You should see the poll now. Is it known by any other name? Do you know? So go ahead and, yeah, I'm not sharing the screen, so. So we have 4 people that have answered. How many people are in here? 9.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have everybody. I'll wait just a moment longer.
That's right. Do.
We're not going to do the whole thing.
No, because I'm afraid to pay for it.
All right, so I'm going to end the poll. And I'll share those results. So you should be seeing the results now. Are we seeing them? Okay, cool. So we have 3 different answers.
Okay.
No one said only Primitivo.
Okay.
All right, and then we have 2 with Alicante Boucher, 1 with Cab Sauv, and 5 Zinfandel. So you guys are right that it's not only known by Primitivo.
True.
What is it also known by?
Zinfandel.
So if you pick Zinfandel, give yourself a pat on the back.
That's right.
And if you did not, you learned something then.
There you go. It's a win-win. And
Exactly.
now
That was my choice.
nice, nice.
Awesome.
So because we're drinking a rosé of Primitivo,
Mhm.
which is also Zinfandel.
Right.
This is my fun thing that I've been waiting to say. You guys are all drinking white Zin.
Oh my gosh.
It's a dry version, but this is a white Zinfandel. This is white Zinfandel, which we'll go into the story
Right.
in a minute. White
Right.
Zinfandel is a sweet version of a rosé of Zinfandel.
Okay.
How on earth that happened and what the effects were, we are going to talk about in a minute.
All right.
But the
Awesome.
next thing to talk about is the label real
The
quick.
label. Okay, we're gonna have another interactive here. So it is not a poll. However, we're going to use annotations. So anybody who hasn't used annotations before, at the top of your screen, it should say view options. And there's a drop down. And then it says annotations. So if you click on annotations, you should be able to type directly onto this screen. You can pick your color. I don't think you can pick the size. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's not. I don't know what changes it, but
Depends on your preference.
get what?
We need to choose text.
Yes, text. Please don't write with the mouse because it's a hot mess when you do that. But okay, what do you guys notice about the label before we get into what Jeff notices about it?
Oh,
You
that's
didn't know I
fine.
did this, huh?
No, no. We're both working on
We
the
both-
presentation now. We're working on it separately. So I'm like, well, hello, okay.
But they're in there, like you didn't see another slide.
No, I saw the slide, but I didn't know where it was going.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And I had to, so, because I thought I had created an extra slide and I almost deleted several of them. I was like, wait, stop.
And unfortunately, sometimes they will go on top of one another, so try and there's no way to change that. It's a Zoom problem. So Summerzano tomatoes, excellent subtle graphic design, minimalistic, but effective. I'm thinking that's Brian. He's got highly rated wine. Yeah, because it looks different than what's on the page. We see
It's
in the
produced
wine.
and bottled by the same place.
Produced and bottled by the same place.
Yes.
There's a slash through the lambda.
Through the A, we're making it a
It
lambda.
does look like a lambda,
Yeah,
yeah.
it does look like.
Anything else y'all notice? Like if you were, the things that like Jeff's looking for,
Mhm.
or you're in a store that's not Tipple's. So certainly that 95 would stick out to me.
Sure.
White background gives the label a very modern look.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It is,
Go ahead.
sorry, it is a very different look than most Italian wine, right?
Mhm.
This is definitely a look that was maximized for international.
Okay,
health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they broke the title into 3 parts. Summerzano sounds fancy.
Right.
It does.
Yeah.
It sounds fancy. I actually like the way that sorry, I'm having to reach over, the way the label is kind of split along the diagonal too, where it
Yeah, I agree.
doesn't
It's,
stay completely.
it's very flashy, but not, I mean, not flashy. It's very eye catching and
Understated eye-catching.
attractive.
Yeah. Mhm.
Without going just gaudy in any way. So to me, it looks really classy,
Mhm.
but definitely eye catching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they threw that 95 on there.
Okay,
so
I am going
I like
to
it.
clear the annotations and we'll see what Jeff said about it. Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So here's what I'm looking at. It says the grape on the label.
All
It's
right.
an old world wine, right? But it says the grape on the label. But once again, and I've said this with the previous one that said the grape on the label from the old world, it doesn't do us much good because most people don't know what Primitivo is.
Right, if it says Zinfandel.
Right, if
then
you
it
saw
would-
Zin.
Right, but Primitivo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be, and honestly, now, as far as selling a rosé, a dry rosé of Zinfandel,
Mhm.
you're much better off in that case to put Primitivo on the
Right.
label
Because.
because people will assume it's a white Zin
Mhm.
otherwise. So it's an interesting give and take on that, but it does have it on the label, which is once again, another step toward a more international labeling
Sure.
choice that they've made. Tramari means, it's one word, it means between the seas. The region is from Salento in Puglia. That's the boot heel of Italy. So this vineyard is between two different seas.
Okay.
12.5% ABV. So the 95-point thing is Luca Maroni. He writes a book on the great wines of Italy, and it's his rating.
Okay.
So he's not really known internationally, but he's very well respected. It looked like in Italy. I had not heard of him before, but that doesn't mean anything on him. There's a lot of people to look at in the wine world. He's written, it looked like he's been writing books on wine for like 30, 40 years. So I'd say he, well, literally on his website, it says, which 1,000 wines has he rated recently? It's like,
Jeez.
okay, dude.
That's a lot.
So prolific, if nothing else. And so it allowed them to put a 95 on there, which is, you know what, if you don't, a lot of people walk around, they don't have the world's major wine critics memorized, like, so you see a 95. I'd say it's effective marketing wise, no matter what.
Sure.
And legitimately, if I knew more about him, I'm sure,
Right.
it would jump out even more.
Right.
So, there's something else.
And then somebody talked about, and I can't remember the exact statement, but what was it, bottled and distributed by the same place?
Yes, it is. So which we'll talk about them, but that is things. So you're there, you don't know anything else. You say, well, this is an Italian rosé. At least it's, they put Rosé de Primitivo. That may be confusing or not. San Marzano is the location.
Right.
Like, okay, it's specific.
They mentioned.
So, and it's bottled and created in, vinted by the same people. So
Right.
those, if you looked
Those
at
are
this,
things that are
they're
kind
awesome.
of
Yeah.
saying, hey, maybe this is something you want to pick up.
I agree.
Mhm.
I would be attracted to that, and especially, which we won't go into that part on here, but at the price point, you're really not going crazy, and you have all those bonuses.
Sure.
To me, it would be worth, like, even if you're not quite sure what's going on with that, Primitivo word,
Mhm.
but you're seeing a 95, you got some specificity. This is still well priced
Yeah.
for a rosé. It's nicely right in that grouping. I'd be intrigued. I'd give
Sure.
it a shot. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
Okay, and Lynn and Paul, now I feel like I taste something herbal or floral, but not sure if that's accurate. I think we mentioned floral before. Mhm.
Yeah, no, there's an herbal floral note. It really comes to me when I'm in between sips and I'm talking for a little bit, and all that fruit, because there's a lot of fruit coming in there, kind of wears off and you get to something there. And there is kind of a nice green sweet herb thing that's plays around on the back of the palate. I know I go tarragon a lot because it's a sweet herb,
Mhm.
but that kind of a thing. Yes,
Should I advance?
yes, please.
Okay. The one thing on here, I know that the grape, unless I knew Primitivo, and I may remember next time that it's also Zin,
Mhm.
but Tramari is not going to help me either, because I
Right.
don't know that that means between the seas, except that you've written it here.
Right,
Right.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a pretty word, Tramari, and they made it look nice, and
It's a
and
pretty
they really
word.
did, like, you see, they didn't choose to say San Marzano as the winemaker as the bold thing. They're trying to create a brand.
Yeah, it's on there,
Mhm.
so you can, it's on the label and it's on the
Right, and
top
it's on the
too, but
capsule,
it's not
right.
the most prominent.
Right, they're in no way hiding it.
Yeah,
But-
okay.
All right, Italian wine classification. So on the back, and this is kind of fun, right? So I actually want to put it on here. It says IGP, Indicazione Geografica Protetta, right?
IGP,
IGP. You're like,
Okay.
oh, what's IGP, Jeff? You
Right.
talked to me about some of these.
Right.
Maybe you guys are so interested in what I have to say, you memorized all the different levels of
I
Italian wine
memorize everything you
classification.
say to me.
Clearly,
Mhm.
IGT, where's IGP in here, right? Will you go to the next line? IGP is an accommodation that they make for EU. So if we're going into the rest of the European, so IGP is the same as IGT.
Okay,
So because typical identification in a geography, IGT, technically that also includes choice of grapes and style of winemaking.
Hmm,
So that's why it changes a little bit. They
Okay.
wanted to kind of say a little bit more about the fact that it's more than just a location, that
Okay.
it's also specific grapes and kind of a winemaking style.
okay,
So that is the reason for that divergence as you get into there. But IGP, which is a really interesting little factoid, it's probably going to save my butt later on when I'm going for one of my higher level
Sommeliers.
sommelier test, is because I hadn't come across it. I was like, what is this IGP stuff? I didn't realize it was an accommodation, and it's the only change for the EU.
It doesn't look like the only change for the EU though,
Was there an-
because DOP
Uh,
seems to encompass both the
Oh, I
and it
didn't
does,
see that.
see that?
Yeah. Okay.
DOCG and DOC. So it encompasses both of those, so it's a broader
Yeah.
label.
Interesting. All right.
See, I told you something.
You did.
sweetie. It's
See,
gonna
I
be
was so
true to
focused.
this
Thank you.
lesson that I'm
Right.
teaching today.
I was so focused on my one thing for today. Our lesson and
There you go. You gotta look at the
brain.
whole slide.
yeah. Right. All
But
right.
yet the vino is,
Yeah.
that's the same in the other they,
Yeah.
but they did make a couple of accommodations for the E EU.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, like the Vino de Tavola, like table wine, their version. Wine.
Vino.
It's wine.
It's wine.
It's wine.
Next.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Primitivo Zinfandel grapes. Cruel twist of fate that happened in the 1970s. Let me take you to olden times.
Back when a lot of us were born.
That's right. Back in the 1970s, began at Sutter Home. Will you go to the next slide, please? Sutter Home. There you are. Thank you so much.
I can't believe we have a slide with Sutter Home.
They were making a dry rosé with the Zinfandel.
Mhm.
And they were fermenting. I think they were going to blend it later with some other ones, but
Okay.
anyway, these were the Zinfandel, and for them, this is Sutter Home. Even in the 70s, we're talking about tremendous silos of juice.
Okay.
And somebody pitched the yeast. They went away. I didn't see it in the story I read today, but I did see it a while ago. I'm not sure if this part's right, but I heard it was a long holiday weekend.
Okay.
So they set it going, they headed out, it's supposed to do its thing, they came back, it did not do its thing. The yeast, they had it's called a stuck fermentation.
Okay.
So the yeast doesn't do what it's supposed to do, it dies, it falls out of solution early and doesn't finish the job. So they got there and they have,
Can I interrupt you? What would cause that?
I
Like
can do it.
temperature variation?
temperature would be likely.
Okay.
Temperature problems if they kept it too cold.
Mhm.
If someone underpitched the amount of yeast they needed, it would be overwhelmed with the work and just, it's called, yeast can become exhausted.
Okay.
I don't know.
So who knows
Yeah,
what
I don't know
happens.
for
Okay.
sure. There are a couple of different options,
If
but
you're
not a ton. It's
Dealing with
really,
silos, that
Yeah.
seems like they could have underpitched easily.
right, because you would think if it was less than silos, that they just would have pitched it, just dump it down the drain, right?
Mhm.
It had to be a large
Yeah.
amount. Instead, what they chose to do was the winemaker drank it and he said, wow, well, the sugar kind of offsets some of the bitterness we get out of these grapes often. So let's see if anyone likes this. So they did a what did I write earlier? Winemaker had a lot of sweet rosé to figure out what to do with. They tested it with wine drinkers. I hesitate to define them as such because they loved it. And then Zinfandel ended up becoming country-wise anyway, within the United States, renowned as a light pink, sweet wine.
Yep.
And to this day, some people, I mean, it's not as common now, but this year I have had somebody who came in, they wanted a really nice, big, spicy red wine to go with the barbecue.
Mhm.
And I said, well, let's go to Zinfandel. That's what I love to do. And they said, oh, no, I don't want any sweet wine. And I was like, no. Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, until we bought the store, I hadn't changed in my head. Zinfandel is what, I mean, this was a great college drink, let me tell you.
Right, but there you go. There you go.
Drank a lot of Sutter Home back in the day. So,
Mhm.
Okay, wait, so we've got some chat. Donna's favorite, and then White Zin equals 1990s college room. Yes, exactly, Rachel. Yeah,
My grandmother drank it,
you,
June.
she would probably still drink it if she were still alive.
Oh,
today.
yeah,
She
yeah,
would
I have
be,
no
yeah,
doubt.
she would love it. Okay, Linda and Paul have a question or comment.
Yeah, well, this one's from me. And really more of a comment. So I told Jeff earlier today that like my college go-to job was working at liquor stores, but I remember the White Zin craze. And once I started to get past that and trying to elevate my fellow college students to wine, it was really more of a gateway into real wine. So happy accident that they liked the sweet white Zinfandel, but it brought them into the liquor store and it got them asking questions.
Yeah.
And I had the opposite experience, you know. So for me, I was like, this is terrible. I don't like wine. Wine is terrible. It smells and tastes like facial wash. I mean, if I'm honest, with Sutter Home and those others, it's that it has a very like astringent, pungent, like I couldn't, and I was like, I don't think I like wine. So I thought I was doomed to never like wine, you know. So it wasn't until I had other wines that I was like, oh my God, this is Zinfandel, you know. So it's, I don't know. But that
She
was
should have ran into a handsome man at the liquor store.
That's right. Exactly. So so Paul brings up a really good point, which is going to feed into my last thing about this, which is the overall opinion, not 100%, but the overall opinion is that Sutter Home did the world of Zinfandel a favor. Because two things. First, what Paul said, it's a gateway wine. You're at least drinking wine. And most people like it when they're moving into the wine world. They like sweet
I
wine.
think most people do prefer those, yeah, sweeter wines at first. And not that sweet wines don't have their place still, but I think, yeah, when you have a less sophisticated palate, that is the gateway into, you know, getting into drier wines.
Right.
Not that, because there are sweet wines that are very good wines still.
Right. Absolutely. Jerry will
Not the one
share
that
them
we're
with us.
talking about, but.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, it's a very,
But
it's a
great
simple,
way to
casual drinker
yeah,
for
to
sure.
introduce, especially if you're talking college students, people that might be drinking, they're either drinking grain or they're drinking like Natty Light.
Right.
So to get them into wine.
Yeah, at least they're on the board,
Yeah.
right? And so overall, that is the implication. The other thing is, because so many grape growers were needed to grow Zinfandel, it increased plantings exponentially because of the popularity. So while that happened.
Wait, have you seen my second poll? Because I don't want you to go into my second poll yet.
Oh,
I'm going to interrupt you a moment and do another poll then,
Okay.
just in case, because I think you might be going into this.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop the share a moment. This is why you needed to look at what I said. All right, hold on. I have a second poll and here it is. Okay. Is that what you were going into?
not exactly. No, it wouldn't have interrupted.
Okay, I was a little worried about that.
Yeah, no.
But we'll do this first.
But you want this next.
Okay, all right.
So, because of the need
They're doing
to
it.
keep up with it,
Uh-huh.
that's great, with the demand for white Zin, more people planted Zin. And some of those people began playing around with better growing Zin. And that, they said in the end, it greatly increased the use of Zinfandel within the wine growing community and the wine making community. So some began to play with the grape more because it was in their backyard anyway. Hey, let's put a parcel over here and see what if we made it good instead of just plentiful.
Okay.
And so that's another reason that they think the white Zinfandel craze added
Actually
to
helped.
the larger amount of good, good classic red Zinfandel wine that we can get today.
Okay.
So
Actually helped.
in the end, No hate to Sutter Home.
In the end, it's a
I'm
good thing.
not buying your
No, I
products,
told you,
but,
like I said,
you know, they're not for me.
Used to love Sutter Home. Okay, we're gonna end this poll. 8 out of 8, and I'm gonna share the results. And everyone,
Everybody. Which country grows the most in?
which country grows the most in? Yep,
That's us.
it's the US. Absolutely.
Yep.
And they know that because that's your political campaign slogan.
It
Jeff
is.
will be announcing his candidacy soon.
That's right.
And
It is.
Yep.
It should be the official red grape of the United States of America. We grow the most, we grow the best.
Yep. Does anybody know why Croatia is on here?
That's where it originated.
Boom.
Ding, 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 ding.
Bonus points.
Absolutely. Okay, let me stop sharing this.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
should I move on?
yes, next slide,
Okay.
please. All right, Zinfandel flavors, blackberry, strawberry, peach preserve. So you can see where the peach might come from in here.
Mhm.
Cinnamon and sweet tobacco. All right, we're dealing with minimal contact here,
Right.
so it's not going to come across.
Although we did say some herbiness, so.
Yeah, and I think that's where that would come from, that
Mhm.
sweet tobacco-y thing, because there's a bit of herbiness. Instead of blackberry, I'd say more of a peach, strawberry, raspberry thing going on because it's a rosé, but you can see kind of where that came from,
We're
right?
getting, I mean, definitely getting melon too, like we
Mhm.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it tends to be a higher acid, low tannin wine. It can have more tannin.
Mhm.
I love it when it does. Those are some of my favorite red zins. Obviously, it's not going to apply tonight. Small berry size, thin skins, but because of the small berry size, and I think we can go to the next one too. No, go back up.
You want me to go back to the other
Yeah,
one?
please. So because of the small berry size, the thin skins are still able to have a lot of effect on the juice. If you had a large berry with thin skin, you're not going to get near you as the intensity that you would get on the, you know, the full red wine version of Zinfandel. Let's see. Many times it's easy to see through on the because of the thin skins, but honestly, as soon as they put a little extra time on it, most zins don't end up that way.
No.
I think that note's crap. Gone. Screw that note. I don't know. Origin in Croatia. I don't even know why I wrote that. I'm looking at that. Usually see through. No. Origin from Croatia arrived to the US in the 1800s. Not identified as the Croatian grape Tribedrag. That's
Oh,
its
that's right.
original name. Into the 1990s because of what kind of testing?
DNA testing.
DNA. And this is the same thing in the 90s that revealed to what South American country that they weren't growing what they thought they were.
Oh,
Polls on the fly. You got
Well-
polls, I got polls
I mean,
in my mind. Hey, you guys said you wanted me to be more like myself. You only have yourselves to blame.
Was it Uruguay?
It is not Uruguay. It is that one.
Thank you. Chile.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the food that he wrote,
Well,
but it
he
is the
was from Chile,
country. Paul's like, it's me. Oh, that was me. All within the span of a few seconds.
Yes, but
Ugh.
actually Paul was the only one that put
Paul
any
did.
guesses. So he gets, if he were in my class, he would get the courage award for that.
All
So
right.
he-
Courage award.
Yes.
That's right. Courage award.
Yep.
So Chile, because their national grape, they do have a national red grape. It's Carmenere, but they thought they were growing. You guys don't remember? Because we've covered this a couple
We
times.
have covered this. I don't remember.
Merlot.
We are all drinking when you cover this, by the way.
All right. So they thought they were growing Merlot. They thought they were Merlot specialists.
Okay.
Turns out they were Carmenere specialists. They found this out in the 90s.
Mm.
They'd been growing it a long time. Like, oh, we got the wrong clippings way back in the day. Okay. So anyway.
The thing to me about that is that those grapes must be so close in their taste profiles and aroma profiles if they thought they were growing Merlot and they weren't, unless they just thought the terroir was influencing it that much.
I believe that.
Okay.
And I read a thing that their leaves look incredibly similar. And I
Okay.
think it was based on the leaves, and they thought their terroir was creating this very distinct version of
Oh,
Merlot.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's my belief. I think I'm right on.
okay, all right. By the way, Paul, guess and check is valid. That is a valid way to get an answer. Guess and check is just fine.
So Zinfandel.
Because he said he guessed.
Yeah, right. Hey, that's fair.
No,
Um,
I said, you said guessing was courage. And I was like, well, I went with Uruguay, so I guessed as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, that is valid, and it is courage,
Mhm.
because you're the only person who put anything out. So
Paul's my
there
hero.
you go. Well, and well, Linda guessed the first one,
I love
and then
Paul.
he guessed correctly, but they
That's
both guessed. But they courageous for both of them.
I agree.
Yes.
Putting it out there. Seriously.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, next slide, please.
Okay. You're
All
not
right,
very-
so Zinfandel is the fourth most planted wine grape in California, after Chardonnay, Cab, and Pinot. By the way,
Is that in order? Is Chardonnay the most?
no,
planted?
Cab is not.
That's what I thought, but okay.
It's Cab, Chardonnay, Pinot, Zinfandel.
Okay.
Then I believe Merlot is next. And you guys remember that Merlot, when it had its heyday in
Oh,
the
it was,
80s,
it was before Cab.
it was number one.
It was number one? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
before
it was
Cab,
Merlot,
just like you said.
So was it, my question is, so it was number one,
Mhm.
Cab is now number one.
Right,
Chardonnay is number two now.
right.
I'm wondering if it Merlot, Cab, Chard then, or was it Merlot, Chard? And then Cab like jumped.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay,
If I were to guess, gosh, I mean.
because my guess would be that Chardonnay was still number two.
I
And that they ripped out the Merlot and they put in the Cab and then it jumped.
they
up to number one.
they ripped out the Merlot, they replaced it with Cab and Pinot, and
Okay,
Merlot fell way down.
way down. Okay.
Obviously far enough that Zinfandel jumped up in there.
Yeah.
So here we have 43,000 acres in California, 27,000 in Italy.
Mhm.
So significantly less, but still a
Significantly
lot.
less, but still quite a bit.
And then Croatia, its homeland, only 170 acres.
Yeah,
And then others, Austria, Chile, Canada, South Africa. Can't say I would love to try it, South Africa's in, but it's probably just part of blends as far as anything that gets
oh,
exported.
okay,
Yeah. Canada's giving their hand at it. Okay. I've never had a Chilean. I've never had, if I've had an Australian Zin, it was in a blend and I
Okay.
didn't know it. So I can't say I've had a Zinfandel from any of those other countries.
so just California and Italy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. Not even Croatia. So,
Well, I mean, they're only 170 acres, so
right.
I'm thinking unless you're over there, you're probably not getting that.
Right. All right. Next one, we're going
Ready?
to go to location. Well, no, we're going to go to grape
We're gonna go. great.
anatomy. Grape anatomy. Thin skinned.
Mhm.
An interesting grape. So small size grape, thin skinned, but intense. So you do get in, I mean, obviously you guys have had red Zin. It's not a delicate
No,
wine. It's one of those wines that you have to really grow carefully. Otherwise it just becomes a big jammy mess. But when it's done right, that's such a joy, right? You get that nice peppery note and
Mhm.
spiciness and anyway. So in this, it does keep in the intermediate zone, it does keep a decent amount of acid in there. So you could, and we do have one in the store that's literally made in a very almost French style. It has a tremendous amount of acid and can age a very long time.
okay,
High alcohol, high acid, intense grapes, it can hang out. In fact, I think I might grab a couple of them and do them because they're already like 10 years old and it's still zinging. So I'd love to see what they do over even more time.
sure.
So, all right, next one.
Do we know how long these were on the skins?
A couple hours.
A couple hours, that's
Yep,
it,
that's
wow,
it.
okay.
All right, so where are we this week? We are down here right in almost directly in the middle of the northern wine growing latitude.
Okay, so there was a reason I moved that. real
Oh,
quick.
okay.
Okay,
Alright.
so these are the Italian wine regions. Okay, these are actually the Italian regions. We're gonna do annotations again.
Oh, we don't see it. We don't see
You
it,
don't see it?
guys. No.
Oh, okay, wait, hold on. How, well, they didn't see the other one then, so we'll go back to it.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I want you to use your annotations again, and there's a place that says stamps. So if you go to view options, go down to annotate, there's a place that says stamps. I want you to stamp on the map where you think, and we mentioned that it was Puglia. So if you know where that is,
Right.
then where is that on this map? What do you think? And you can use a heart or an arrow or a star or whatever you would like. Okay, we've got some arrows here. We have a circle here, arrow here, star here. Up
Okay.
here. Down here.
Got a couple of circles there.
Circles right there.
Nice.
I'm just gonna wait a moment longer. Another stamp that came through down in that heel.
Okay.
Okay, so on the next, oh, we have one more up here.
Mhm.
Up in that green area.
Right.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to advance the slides. The annotations are going to stay. And you should
Wow.
see, you can see
That
them.
was very clever.
You like that?
Yes. That was
Okay,
very clever.
so Puglia is this area here. I don't know where ours is exactly.
Mhm.
So it goes all in this heel down here, and I don't know where we are. So where are we today? So a lot of you knew exactly where that region was. I would not have gotten it at all.
Right. Yeah,
But-
that was
You like
really
it?
good. Yeah, and we are here in Salento.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
Southern
so
part.
if you got that, give yourself a pat on the back. I cannot pat myself on the back because I wouldn't have known. I mean, I knew
Mhm.
where it was based on this, but I didn't know where we were today.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the divergent regions
Mhm.
of Italy in that they kind of specialize in rich fruitier wines.
Okay,
I'd say the only other place that you could really count on that, without having high acid, high tannin wines would be going up to Veneto and drinking Amarone where they
Mhm.
raisinate the grapes.
sure.
But they do that on purpose in order to create rich and fruitiness,
Yeah.
right? But down here, they can grow them. It's,
Yep.
you know, we'll talk about why in just a minute. So.
Linda said Piedmont Puglia, that's a common mistake. Yeah, they both start with a P.
Oh,
And we were
absolutely.
in Piedmont last week, I think.
We were in
so,
Piedmont
yeah,
last week. You're exactly right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So.
So very nice. Good job,
yeah,
everybody.
job.
Sandwiched between, because it's between the seas, right?
Mhm.
Sandwiched between the Adriatic Sea, the Adriatic and the Ionian.
Okay, so hold on. Adriatic over here,
Yep.
because they can't see where you're pointing.
Right.
And what was the other one here?
Ionian,
Ionian.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the whole between the seas with Tramari.
right.
Okay, all right, cool.
That is one. Next one, please.
Okay,
All right, so within there, this is kind of close up within there. So Salento is this entire pink purpley area.
okay.
Mhm.
But the
So
whole
very much.
thing is Puglia?
This is all Puglia.
Why does it say? Well, that
That's-
must be what they call it.
Right, that's in Italian.
See, I don't understand why we call it something different than they call themselves.
I think that's fair.
I think we should call them what they call themselves.
But yeah, they call it Apulia, we call it Puglia, but it's spelled like Puglia.
Okay, well, I kept saying Puglia, so Puglia.
Yeah,
Okay.
which by the way, their version doesn't have the silent G in there. Why did we put one in with the silent G?
I don't know. Can we blame the British for
I
that?
have no idea. People blame the Brits for everything. so Why not? Throw it.
There
out.
you go.
All right. So,
Next
um,
or not?
yeah, go ahead next. All this will be just talk over looking at the
Okay,
vineyards, right? So it was once underwater. You can see because it was between the seas there, right?
Mhm.
So hopefully it won't be underwater again soon. Lots of limestone in the soil due to ancient seabed deposition,
Mhm.
with a layer of red clay across the top. Flat, hot, and dry. So when I talked about they grow grapes that get rich and fruity,
Mhm.
It's very warm. It's very, very warm. The only thing that breaks it up is those sea breezes. It's just flat, hot, and dry. The dominant grapes are Primitivo and Negro Amaro.
Does that have another name?
Nope,
No, just Negro.
just Negro Amaro. But it is related to Zinfandel.
Ah,
And so I have Negro Amaro in the store, and you guys should try it sometime. If you're drinking, you're like, I like Zin, I'll try a Primitivo. Try a Negro Amaro. It will remind you of a more herby version of a Zinfandel.
okay.
Now, they don't have exactly when it came over there. There's one thing said, oh, it's a Greek grape that came over. I believe it is a Greek grape that came over, but at some point it had to have crossbred with Zinfandel. It is too similar.
Okay.
So that is my 2 cents on Negro Amaro.
X stamped.
That's
for
right.
you. Yes.
Boom.
All right.
I say it's the truth. All right. Next one. There's another one. So there you see the oceans
Oh,
right
yeah,
there.
right there. Next.
Yep. And the next one, this goes into what they grow there, right? The different grapes. So you see Primitivo, Negro Amaro, they're pretty close.
Next was just other.
And then other, right? So that was the largest collection of things.
Yeah.
And then
What's that? Susumaniello.
Susumaniella, I don't know. It may be a white grape. And then this is, I don't understand why they have 4% of, I don't know if that's a blend of just those two.
Yeah, that's.
I know Fiano's white,
Mhm.
and then white
Okay,
ones
white one.
anyway. But
Right.
anyway, so a lot of Negro Amaro is grown for something that is relatively unknown to
Yes,
most American
well,
wine drinkers.
To us, yes.
Yeah.
Next.
Yes. All right. Cantina
feel
San
like-
Mas.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I Googled it and it's a red also from the heel of Italy. And it says it's dry and delicious. So maybe we should try that.
Man, I'll
Yeah.
see if I can find some.
The Negro Amaro?
No,
Oh.
No, this.
Oh, the
Susu.
the Susu Studio.
Dude,
You are all welcome. And once again, only yourselves to blame.
Yeah,
Right,
you
you
said you
guys.
wanted, what is it, Jeff? What was that MTV thing?
Unchained,
Was it Unchained? No.
untethered, unplugged.
Something-
Jeff Unplugged.
There's
That's it.
Jeff Unplugged.
That's right.
And David's just like, his face is in his hand. He doesn't want to hear any more from you.
So Cantina San Marzano, all right. Yes, I see, yes, It's San Marzano.
San Marzo.
yes.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right.
So, it is a winery collective, which is kind of cool in that last week's Barolo,
Mhm.
also a wine from a
Yes,
collective,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
So this is a thing, clearly somebody stamps. Yes, in fact, that is it. By the way, kind of full, that's a 60, that is from this,
Sorry. Go ahead.
that is from the 1600s.
Mhm.
It is an old farmhouse that was there that they've then repurposed into their winery.
That's fantastic.
The collective was founded in 1962, and it was a collective that combined all their grapes and sold to other producers until 1996.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1996 is
34
when they
years.
began making and releasing their own brands,
Mm-hmm.
their own wines. So they get together, they hire a president and a board and a winemaker as a group.
Mhm.
And then their main focus is on growing the grapes for most of the individuals. And then there's somebody that they've hired to turn it into the different wines and that kind of a thing. Or decide what wines they should make and
Right.
all that kind of thing. But most of them are farming families.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's just always amazing to me when a collective of people can agree on all that, when family businesses with 4 people can't agree on things sometimes.
Right? And it was started with 19 local farmers. So it was 19 families.
Yeah, that's, wow.
Yeah. So now we have a quick flyover.
This is a quick flyover. It's just a drone view.
Remember when I said flat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good that it's a quick flyover because
It's,
that's what it looks like.
it's showing you that the grapes are trellised and there are a lot of them.
Right. So within this area, by the way, they grow as much, if not more, olives than they do wine, no, wine grapes.
Wow. So good for both.
Yep, that'd be a great place to visit. Get some great olive
Okay,
oil,
wait,
get
hold on.
seafood. And so, and then the last slide about this is another,
There we go.
here you go.
We have one more video.
So it's from them. It's kind of part marketing, but it does cover some stuff that's in there. It's a
Yeah.
little hard to get things from them that aren't just marketing.
You know, the first part is more marketing, and then you see kind of how they're harvested and things later. Love how they put the US version of it. Or
Oh. The both versions,
Yeah,
Puglia and
both
Puglia.
versions. Yeah.
There it is. And you know, honestly, well, we'll talk about this after we go to
Okay.
the ratings
The
and
next
stuff.
one.
Mhm.
Hold on, it likes to
All
catch
right.
it. Okay, so this is another interactive. If there's anything you want to share about what you noticed in the videos.
You see something.
Nobody wants to share anything.
No.
Oh, sunny area, happy people. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we were talking about. Actually, Jeff was saying to me, he thought I would really like the area because it is very sunny. It's warm.
Mhm.
And we know one of the things that we noticed was, to me, when I looked at it, it looked like it was very Greek influence because it looked more like Greece to me
Yeah,
than Italy with the white
the whitewash.
wash
city
buildings
thing,
and everything with the help. Yep. Cool pottery, and the girls have great hair. Yeah. Well, so the pottery was something that we were talking about earlier too. Like I said, I don't know why that's in the video.
Right.
So Jeff mentioned maybe it's something that they're known for in that area, which
Right.
we are not sure of. Yeah. Gorgeous open windows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look like Greece too. Yeah. Great hair in caves.
Well, you know, and one thing that showed the cuisine,
Mhm.
you notice like all the cuisine they showed was seafood,
Right.
right? Which makes sense with
Mhm.
where it is. That makes rosés and whites very important, but they're really known for their big ass reds. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to know what you're drinking with those as well.
Right.
I feel like a field trip
What
is
you're
required.
eating with those?
Yeah, what
with the
you're-
big ass reds?
What you're drinking, yeah, what are you eating with those big reds?
Right,
Yeah,
right, yeah. Oh, yeah, we
I
definitely.
think we
did
just have to
field
get,
trip
I
over
think
there.
it's gonna take ice on the ground,
It just needs to be done.
right?
Yeah, drinking with friends, absolutely, yeah. So should we go to your score explanation
Yes.
now?
All right, so I said, you know, there's not a lot on this for scores, you know, they were like 88 through 90. I saw a few things here and there, a lot of them were older. So I was like, yeah, call it like an 88-ish kind of thing as a whole, but that doesn't mean you agree with that.
There's a 95 on the bottle.
That's right, exactly. That gentleman really believes that this is an outstanding one. So, you know, is this guy, what do you guys think? So taking into account that, was it well made? Were there flaws in the wine, right? Take that out to begin with.
Mhm.
Then, did you enjoy it? You know, managing your expectation as a big red lover. This is a rosé. Did it speak to you in some way? Was it well made? Did you enjoy it? And did it have something kind of unique and interesting to make it worth being in this class and enjoying it? Kind of what I put together. And then factor in a little bit, what price did I pay for this and how much did I enjoy it for that price? I think that's
Sure.
it's valid to talk about that, you know, and to factor it in a bit, not the priority, not the main thing, because some people will be like, oh, well, I spent $500 on that bottle of wine. I say 87, it didn't magically transform me into a prince, right? You know, because they're like, that was a huge amount of money. So you have to manage it some, but
To me,
it should, I get it being on your mind.
if I'm spending $500 on a bottle of wine, it should be a really good bottle of wine.
Yeah. Oh, no, it should. It better.
Yeah. All right, so we have, I will stop the share just a moment. We have scores coming in.
Scores
We
of
have
scores.
let's see, we have a 94 from Brian, 89.9 from Julie, or 90. Yeah, absolutely. 90 from Linda and Paul, Rachel and 89, David and 88. We have Linda and 92, Jerry and 91. Okay, both Linda and Paul are 90. Laura 92, Brendan
Nice.
92. Yep.
Oh, some great scores.
No, I would do a 92. I very much enjoyed this rosé, and I feel like I liked it more than I like most rosé. Although I mean I like rosés, they are not my wine of choice. But especially if I'm outside on my patio in Florida right now,
Right.
I need something refreshing.
That's where I agree with you. I mean, everybody knows I'm not a red wine, white wine, but for rosé, I think this is probably one of my favorites. So
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys liked it.
And it went very well with the Fox's sushi.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you guys liked it. I really did too. That's why I grabbed it. I mean, the wine rep we were drinking this and I was like, I really like this rosé. I mean, I you know, which shocker, I've never had a wine that I thought sucked and then I chose it for the wine of the week. I guess that's, you know, there's a little bit of the cat's out of the bag on that.
You
one.
have had wines
but,
that you thought sucked. You did not bring them into the store or choose them as wine.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
So given that, right, I really liked this one and I do like it like with you guys. Rosé is maybe not my first choice of style of wine, but I like this more than I like most rosés.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, well, I'm glad it looked like you guys liked it too. So that makes me happy.
Mhm.
Everyone who missed it can suck. They should have bought this wine. That's right. Well, of course, it'll still be at the store. They can get it.
It'll still be at the
That's
store.
right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna charge them full price. I'm just gonna stare them right in the eyes and be like, yeah. No wow discount for you.
You should
Okay.
stare them down.
Yeah,
Yep. And then upcharge them.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
we're gonna thank our sources.
let's thank our sources
All right.
and then we'll talk about it next week. Thank you to Wine Folly, always amazing wine resource. Can't say enough about how wonderful they are. Wikipedia, 750. Oh, look, 750 twice. Italian Wine Central, Italian Wine, Italiano Wine, winesearcher.com, San Marzano Wine, and Tomaresca Vineyards. There's one of the pictures.
Sure.
Competing vineyard, but sorry, it's close right there. So anyway, all good stuff. Thank you guys so much for sharing your content to make this possible.
Okay, so next week.
Next week.
And I don't know what this is because you did this after I had already put my stuff in. So I
All
have
right.
no idea what this is.
Next week, you guys have been with me through multiple old world wines in a row, and now an old world rosé. So now we are flying back to, shocker of all shockers, California.
Okay.
But an area in California we have not as a group visited.
Oh,
We're going to Mendocino.
okay.
Where is Mendocino?
Don't know.
I'm going to find out next week.
All
But
right.
we are drinking one of my pet favorite grapes, Petite Syrah.
All right.
So the McNabb Petite Syrah from Mendocino, California. Plus there is a twist connection to the last two wines that we've just tasted
Okay.
with this. Somebody stand.
Well, this is Paul, and see, he's that kid in my class that I would have to take his tools away
Right? Can we freeze his tool?
every time. He's like, hey.
Paul, you're not allowed to use your tool anymore. Than me. It is taken off the board. You can't be responsible with it. You don't get to use it, young man. So, all right, so. Yeah, so there's a really fun kind of connection back to the last two wines that we've had
Okay.
with this family. So, but Petite Syrah is going to be wonderful. Food pairings for this big beastie of a wine. Turkey mole, carnitas, smoked ham, eggplant parmesan, vegetarian chili, or smoked sea salt dark chocolate.
Oh, yes. Sounds great.
There it is. Come on back and join us. I hope that you do. I think you'll be happy.
We'll stop the share. So any last questions or comments?
All joking aside, last week we had a really good discussion about smell, taste, length, all that stuff. And at the very beginning, had we not looked at it, I think Linda made the comment, she was like, "Oh, this tastes like a Pinot Noir."
I
Pinot
didn't
Grigio."
taste it. I was not drinking.
Right, but if you hadn't had looked at this being a rosé, it probably would have tasted like a white to me. And so I now wonder the other influence of sight, looking at the wine, going, is there an expectation when I taste it?
That is a real thing, Paul. What you bring up is a real thing. They actually embarrassed a lot of sommeliers. This was years ago, maybe more than 10. They did a blind wine tasting with black glasses. So they had no idea whether it was red or white. And many of the sommeliers misidentified they were trying to, guess the wine grape, and they literally guessed the wrong color of wine grape.
Wow.
With some of the wines. I mean, some of them, obviously many not, but so a lot of people that are very much, there's a big group of people out there that want to kind of crap all over anyone taking the time to study wine. And they're like, whatever, no one knows anything. It's all made up bullshit. And so they jumped all over that just to say, see, this is all crap. Sommeliers don't know what they're talking about. They're making shit up. And I don't think that's the case at all. I think people, make mistakes. You're doing multiple wines in a row, and sommeliers come in different levels, right? Like there are idiots in every, profession.
So there are a couple of things that I would think of with that as well. Were they choosing bottles that are sneaky bottles that are kind of disguise themselves as other things?
Right.
First of all.
Mhm.
So were they doing that as opposed to a more like obvious red, obvious white, obvious like specificity of grape,
Right.
Merlot, Cab, these different things. So were they doing that, first of all? And then lost my other thing. Taste bud exhaustion.
Mhm.
That has got to be a thing if you're drinking all of these in a row, that by the time you get to the 15th glass that you've had, even if you're rinsing or you're doing something to cleanse the palate,
Mhm.
because I don't know if they're actually using something that besides water
Mhm.
that would actually cleanse the palate. And I know that traditionally sorbet is used. I don't know if that truly actually cleanses the palate or if it's something that we think does.
Well, yeah, in this case, water and bread are very.
Water and bread. Okay. So, but after you've tasted 15 wines, do they all kind of start to taste the same? So I don't know, but I'm thinking both of those things. And then, like you said, what level of sommelier were they testing?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And because there are people, anyway, I've met people that I respect in this industry. I've met people with a lot of credentials that I really didn't respect very much in the industry. I mean, that happens,
Sure.
it happens.
It's in
the
every
world, you know,
industry.
It's in every industry. So you never know exactly for
Sure.
sure. And like a lot of what they said is, oh, they were all sommeliers. Were they? Were they? I mean, there's a person that has a ton of followers on TikTok right now,
Mhm.
and she calls herself the something sommelier. I can't even remember. She's not a som. You're not supposed to say that. You got to earn the right to say
Calling-
som.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just calling herself that, like it's a general term, like,
Mhm.
like.
It's like life coaches in the mental health world. It's like, oh, I don't want to get a degree in that. I'll just call myself a life coach. And those of us that have a degree and a license, you're like, you can't, no. People
Right.
are going to spend money for you to hurt them. Like, don't do that. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
no, exactly. Yeah.
Right. You're there with that health coach and he keeps saying, oh, excuse me for a minute. Mom, I want some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, what you need to do is get out in the world. I'm like, are you?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it is a thing of expectation though, when you see it.
There is, but it does. So going into the other side of it, when
Right.
you can see it, you do begin to project onto, up to an extent, you
What you
project onto
expect.
what you expect to taste.
Sure.
No, that is also a thing.
It's like nanoparticles. They do what you expect them to do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So there is an extent to that. And I have had some marathon tastings.
Does it all start to taste the same?
I'm sure I'm not tasting it to the exact same extent as if I had just the one wine,
Mhm.
nothing else for an hour, just the one wine.
Sure.
Though done in the proper order. So let's say you start with, maybe you start with a light white, and you work your way up to the Napa red blend and the beastie mode kind of thing. You do that on purpose so that you can continue to taste it.
Okay.
And take a rest between. So yeah, would I say there's probably a blunting of the sword? Sure. But if you're careful, you're still getting what you need to out of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of the things, like when we have trade shows, right? When I go to a wine trade show, you've been there with me.
Mhm.
I never drink the spirits if I'm on the job. And I see these people go in there and they wade right over to the spirit table to start because they're all excited.
Mhm.
And they drink a bunch of sipping whiskeys and scotch and everything. And they're like, oh, and it's time to drink wine. Like, you don't know. No, you're not here. You're just here to have fun.
No, true. I did finish with the rum table last.
Oh
time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Finish, right? As we work our way through, it's like, all right, now let's have some
Yeah.
fun over at the spirits table.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I don't, but I do it in the right order.
After, yes, after you've done all the professional stuff. you
Right.
need to.
I mean, if you're at a liquor and wine trade show, enjoy it. But I do all the important stuff that I have
Mhm.
questions about first, take my notes, and then enjoy yourself.
Yeah, there you
So anyway. All right. So let's toast out the
go.
recording.
All right. Thank you all for coming. I don't have.
Would you like a little more?
Just to toast with, that would be
Okay.
great.
Save the rest
Thank
for
you.
dinner.
Yes. Even though it's not gonna be great, Karen, but
Yeah.
cheers.
Hey,
everyone.
everybody. Thanks for coming and joining us on this investigation of white Zinfandel.
Is that your new thing, this investigation?
I'm trying new things.
Okay,
I'm trying new things.
cool.